have gold going insane, silver going insane, and then 10 a.m. manipulation for Bitcoin is back. You can see it right here. We are flat. We are flat. We are flat. 10 a.m. hits. Look at the wicks on this candle right here. You could not get more of a doji candle. That's what they call this. So classic sign of manipulation. But we have a major show today. We got to talk about the government shutdown. We got to talk about the winter storms effect on the Clarity Act. That's right. DC politicians might not be flying into DC on time, so that is going to change that timeline as well. And of course, we have some awesome news with XRP. I have another XRP article to show you. And we're going to talk about the copper options. The copper options are nuts. Now, Drew, I'm going to add you to the stage. You have an announcement, I believe, for the people here.
Yes.
You're going to be doing a show after the show. Tell us a little more here.
Absolutely. So after we get done going through all the biggest news, honestly, there's a lot of news to go over, understandably. I'm going to be going over some of the chart setups, Bitcoin's general structure right now from my perspective. And then I do have curiosity being sparked about Ondo. So I kind of want to take a look at Ondo and then the general flows, who's actually winning in the altcoin sector over the last year to see where the real strength is. You know, I'm really kind of evaluating that in a very, very heavy way right now after this dip. There's a lot of questions. Is this year going to be good? So I'm going to dive into that afterwards.
All right. Sounds great. And folks, talk about winning the trades. We have been killing the copper options. We are going to share those options as well. Let's go back to the Bitcoin chart there, because there is a line in the sand, and that is the 100-week moving average. We've been talking about this 100-week moving average. And if you look here, Bitcoin's still holding on to signs of strength here. Now, we did go back 100 weeks and show you that things are going to start falling. We are going to start wiping away some of the higher prices on this moving average, going into where the tail end is just going to have these lower moving averages. I think it's actually right here in this range. So as we wipe out the candles from this moving average and start increasing the amount of lower cost average candles, Bitcoin is going to have this moving average move to the downside. So we're going to talk about that and its effect. But major wins if you're holding copper, silver, or gold when you're right about currency debasement, but you bought Bitcoin instead of gold, silver, or copper. Hit the like button if that's you, folks. And let me ask you this question. If you're to buy one of the 3 shiny metals, type in, what are you going to buy today? If you got to go to the pawn shop. You got to spend $1,000. Are you going to buy sleeve after sleeve of pennies? Are you going to buy some silver? Are you going to buy some gold? What, folks, would you buy? I am curious. What is the sentiment right now when it does come to precious metals? And like I said, we'll check in on some of those options a little bit. But this is going to be a crazy week, folks. Looks like copper coming out. Silver puts. Someone is betting on silver to go down. A lot of people talking about copper, and some saying, screw your metals. I like the orange coin instead. So someone bought some spot copper. Hey, I might start hitting up new construction, and if some wires disappear out of some walls, I don't know, folks. I don't know. It might find its way into a link bag, if you know what I'm saying. But this week is going to be very volatile. We have a lot of stuff on the horizon today. We do got some silver bugs out there, sleeves. Let's talk about this week here, Monday. So today we're injecting billions. We're going to look at the balance sheet. We got Japan monetary policy meeting. We are going to talk about the yen trade. We have a Trump speech on Wednesday. That's not all that's happening on Wednesday. And we also have the U.S. metal net positions. That's going to be more of a larger macro move for metals there. But we also have January consumer confidence data tomorrow. Fed meeting. We have the Fed meeting on Wednesday. We have huge earnings from Microsoft, Meta, and Tesla and Apple. And then we have the December PPI inflation, the core price index there. A lot of data going to be hitting the markets this week. So expect a lot of volatility. But some of the data that I care about is the dollar. So we are going to talk about that. But look, the U.S. has started printing money again. The dollar will crash and Bitcoin will pump. This is M2 money supply. When you see M2 money supply, it was on a slight decline. You can actually go straight down. This is going to be about Q3, Q4 of 22. This is going to be about a year after Biden. They had to unwind some of the money that was in the market. There's too much too quickly. It's going to be Trump and Biden, of course, combined there. But then it was on the decline. And now we're pushing up into fresh highs. Now, this is the Fed balance sheet. We kind of were a little alarmed here. You know, we had this huge influx on the Fed's balance sheet. What made this significant was this is after eons of decline, not just months, not just, a couple years here, many, many years of decline. I mean, let's go all the way back. You could say it started April 22. So we're going on almost 4 years minus that little blip right there. And then finally, we saw a little bit of hope in the markets. And then it came down. It came down hard. But now if you look, the Fed's balance sheet also on the rebound. And when we went back and checked, historically, you will see little aberrations near the bottom. So you'll see some aberrations, but it does seem like the trend has begun. The trend is setting anew. The trend is going to be more assets on the balance sheet, more dollars being printed. All of this money has to find its way into commodities. And it does look like gold, silver, copper, maybe taking the limelight today, but it is going to be Bitcoin's time, folks. And I got some very, very compelling charts. But now let's talk about the shutdown. If you're not aware, it looks like a shutdown is on the horizon. This is probably going to be what created that little bit of a Bitcoin flash crash to the downside. Let me show you in the charts what I'm talking about here on the 1 hour. Yeah, right there. Nice little push down, push well below the liquidity levels right here. In fact, you go all the way down, push back below these liquidity levels. It was going all the way down to December 18th, last time we saw the price this low. And so what created this? Probably this going viral, talking about the odds of a shutdown. We're now up to 78%, but it has changed. We got the poly market. It is no longer 78%. 81%. I'll zoom out a little bit here. I want to go to the last 1 day. Yeah, you can see it got as low as 74, spiked as high as 82, and now the markets are deciding. Yes, we have a 4 out of 5 chance that the government is going to shut down by January 31st. Good morning, everybody. Love the tie. I love all the chat in here. Thank you for hanging out. Smash that like button. And again, we're going to be cutting to Drew for some trading content, but I also have some charts that I want to show you. So you're saying there's a chance. Yes, this is a chance. Not just a crypto channel. Well, we got to talk about getting rich any means necessary that equals a Lambo. I want to tell that to you. I want to get you rich. Our silver options. We got in at 60 cents. It's like $30. I'm out. I got out near, about half, closer to 20 than 10. And now we're still in palladium. We're still in gold, but we've been rolling these profits into copper. But silver, man, how about those silver? That shiny metal is just going nuts. Well, let's talk about the shutdown here. Poly market sees the odds surge actually now above 77%, now 81%. And it comes as the Clarity Act. This is a significant crypto bill aimed at providing more clarity around regulations. It's making its way through Congress with previous delays largely blamed on the previous shutdown. It was the 43-day shutdown that happened in October to November. The government shut down 3-4 months ago, but it feels like 3-4 years ago. So we have a shutdown on the heels of another shutdown. Just so much has happened since October, November. It's almost like it's been memory hold into some sort of alternate timeline. Now we're seeing the surging poly market odds. It came shortly after Chuck Schumer announced that Senate Democrats would not provide the votes to proceed to the appropriations bill if funding for DHS is included. Now, DHS, Department of Homeland Security, it is a newer department, but it famously funds ICE. And we're not going to get into, trying to do armchair analysis frame by frame on, a very complicated and grainy situation. But that provided fuel, political power, political clout for the Democrats. Now they're coming in. They have a little bit extra leverage, and they're using this leverage. And, ICE as a lightning rod is a very, very strong lightning rod. Now, Fox Business was told by Donald Trump, I think we have a problem. We have a problem, Houston, because I think we're probably going to end up, and he's framing it as another Democrat shutdown. And with them having the minority in the Senate, I guess that is a fair take there. Now, the Clarity Act timeline is remaining unclear because of this. Now, Elder Terrett saying Senate canceled Monday votes because of Snowmageddon. That's what they're calling it. I had a tree fall in my backyard. Did you guys have any damage? I had a tree fall in my backyard. It fell away from my fence. I have a little creek, so my fence doesn't go all the way out, so it kind of stops before a creek. Boom. Got lucky, though. I did get very lucky. But she's saying because of Snowmageddon, we might not see any votes in the near term. Now, during the last shutdown, crypto investors, they have a fresh memory of how market prices fared during shutdowns, during the 43-day shutdown. Look at the dates, October 1st to November 12th. So initially, we got an all-time high. We got an all-time high 5 days later. Bitcoin fell from October 6th, $126,000 to below 100K, driven apart by prolonged disagreements in Washington, but also the October 10th crypto market crash, which in part was sparked by the tariff threats with China. So we're seeing a lot of volatility heading into the week. And now the Clarity Act is uncertain, and we are seeing higher and higher odds that we are going to see a shutdown. So there's just a lot of moving parts. This is a very, very tenuous system. Reminds me of that meme where you have, this very complicated stack and it's like books and all these other things, and it's being held up by like one small pencil. That's what the U.S. government is feeling like now. Now I am seeing it has been moved to Thursday. I was kind of waiting for confirmation from Eleanor Terrett, but we'll go ahead and run with that. Thank you for that, St. Goose. So it does look like it is pushed back 48 hours, not the end of the day. For Canucks, it's just another Monday. It does look like Nashville got hit pretty bad. I know Nashville, Memphis, Tennessee, 3-6 Mafia fans, they're not sipping on syrup. They're just huddling under blankets instead. Let's see. Chuck has an imaginary friend he keeps talking about. That's true. I don't want to get. Yeah, that's a thing. I think you see that on both sides. Donald Trump also had the friend that he would call with an alias to like Entertainment Tonight and Wall Street Journal. So I guess that's just a normal thing when you're at that level. Maybe not normal. Let's see. Untrained temper self. All right, lot of talks on ice. You know what? I don't like ice in my water. And that's all you're going to get from DZ. That's all you're going to get from DZ. I'm not going to get into all that, folks. Although maybe for the member stream this Friday. Now, do have one more thing I want to share with the White House here. Imagine feeling bearish on crypto while the White House is posting about making America the crypto capital of the world. They just posted this over the weekend. I will stop Biden's crusade to crush crypto. Promises made, promises kept. And then talks about how he signed the Genius Act into law. I think maybe this is timed with the Clarity Act, being delayed. So with that, you might take that as a loss. And so you want to tout your W's. You're going to want to say, hey, these are the things that I have been doing. And I think we should replace the I want you poster. Let's just replace it with Trump. It's like the post-World War II. I want you to make rivets in a factory, Susie. And now we have the new one. I want you to get a spray tan. I'm joking. All right, now we have some other Trump news. We do have Trump. Who is he going to nominate as a Fed chair? We have some changes. Kevin is down. It was Kevin Warsh and Kevin Hassett. If you guys recall, the Kevs took the top 2 spot. K squared, I guess. Kevin Warsh was beating out Kevin Hassett. We did deep dives on both of these people. Both of them going to be very, very pro crypto. But now we got a new front runner, Rick Ryder. He's a hip hop and rock producer. No, that's Rick Rubin. No, Rick Ryder. Who is Rick Ryder? Who is this guy that might pump your markets? And then after that, we're going to look at one last thing on Polymarket. Now, how this BlackRock executive went from underdog to top in 2 weeks. So he worked at BlackRock for 15 years, the chief investment officer. So a very, very high-level executive here. Before that, 20 years at Lehman Brothers. Now, let's do some quick back of the napkin math. Chat, what was Lehman Brothers famous for in the 80s? Someone's going to know this. I know we got a smart chat out there. Lehman Brothers were famous, very famous for doing something in the 80s. What were they doing in the 80s? So he worked at BlackRock for 15 years. It's 2026. We'll just round to 2025. You subtract 10, 15 years, you're going to have 2010. You go back 20 years, it takes you to 1990. So maybe he's not guilty. Folks. He was Lehman Brothers manipulated silver, and Golden Child was the golden viewer there. Golden Child, 10 points for Gryffindor there. Just interesting. Just wanted to throw that out there. So he worked at these investment banks for decades. So how did he go from 1% to 50%? Well, it started with the interview. He was the 4th and last candidate. He went from 1 to 15%. Remember, we're still thinking it's the Kevins. And then 22nd of January, he said, he's very impressive. We're down to 1 in my mind. Went from 15 to 33. And then we got a Kevin Hassett endorsement takes himself out of the race, endorses this man publicly, and calls him the best bond guy on CNBC. Although that is Pierce Brock. No. Anyways, but yeah, 33% now went to 50%. And if we look now he's down to 47%. So looking like he is the front runner, though. So why does Trump like this man? Dovish policy. This man is going to be all about cutting aggressively at the Fed, Wall Street credibility, and he's not a veteran of DC. He's a veteran of Wall Street, and in this position, that's going to be a fresh start. This is the guy right here. Looks tough. It's not quite cauliflower here, but this guy just looks like he was rumbling in South Philly, as a youngin or something. Let's see. They changed the laws because of those two. Yes. Oh, that was the hunt. Now, Lehman, this is what JP Morgan does today. There's a lot of ties. It wasn't a one-person crime there. Manipulating. Okay. Whoa. See some other stuff in there. After non-US. Okay. It's getting political here, folks. Getting real political. The last thing I do want to share on Polymarket, I just want to share how much money these people are making off Polymarket. It was I think it's a 35x roughly. Super Bowl champions. Seattle Seahawks are the favorite. You can get paid a decent amount if you vote for New England, right? You're going to get like a 3-1. So you put down $1 on New England, you're going to get about $3 back. Look at the Seattle odds. Now, New England, look at that. They were both 1% not that long ago. 2% not even that long ago. And then it started to go up a little bit. But you could get in fairly recently, basically the end of October, beginning of November. No, you can get in November at 3% odds. It is now 68% odds. You're looking at a 22.3x there. Very, very good return. I don't know if you guys had any dogs in the fight here, but I feel like if you know sports, there's definitely money to be made in Super Bowl champions. And then there's going to be spikes when they qualify for the playoffs. There's going to be spikes, if they make it past the first round. I mean, it's going to keep going up and up, assuming your thesis plays out. But now we're looking at this isn't even in the playoffs here. You just win a game on a Sunday by a wide margin, sell your shares and get out. I don't watch enough sports to maybe make money off of this, but I don't know who you guys would vote on. Are you going to watch the Super Bowl? Are you going to watch the halftime show? I don't know if you heard a rumor that the music act is going to wear a dress. A lot of people talking about that one. Seattle by 14. Battle of the cold places. Yeah, 100%. 1,000 on the single game parlay. Careful with those parlays, man. They seem so lucrative, but it's hard to flip heads 4 times in a row. Let's see here. Someone's got a party. Going to bring the disco fam over. Going to have some barbecue there. The Pats are going to be dog walked. Are they still cheating? That is the question. Are they still cheating? Are they still deflating their balls? Let's move on. Let's talk about Bitcoin here. Bitcoin price levels to watch. There's just some levels I did want to share you. The 100-week moving average, we shared that in the beginning of the stream, just in case you were joining in a little bit late. You can see right here, we do have the 100-week moving average holding firm $86,000. But like I said, we can go back 100. 99. Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna definitely just keep it low. This is kind of the peak. So what are we at? Like 2 weeks from now, these are weekly candles. In 2 weeks, we have a downtrend starting. This downtrend is 24 weeks. So in 2 weeks, this is going to be wiped out, and then it's just going to have a downtrend, which is below our moving average. And it's just going to have basically the 100th candle just gets lower and lower and lower and lower. And so expect this, barring, unforeseen any kind of circumstance here, this moving average is going to keep going lower. So yes, we might continue to bounce off this 100-week moving average, but this 100-week moving average is just going to go lower and lower and lower in the short term, assuming the prices remain stable. So keep an eye out on the 100-week moving average, but keep an eye on it moving as well. Now, the initial drop created a CME gap. Now, historically, Bitcoin shows a tendency to revisit these gaps. Let's look at the last CME gap. So this was the previous one. This one took a while. This one was a quick one, filled fairly quickly. This one, though, took, I think, 19 days for the CME gap. Typically, they fill quickly. Typically, not always. I mean, here you can see it wicked into it very, very quickly. Just looking for some random gaps. This one, that's the one that took, you know, what, a little bit longer. That one took 3 days. So it's not always like the next day. But sometimes it's later that week. Oh, are you kidding me? Well, chat, I promise you, when I was doing my research this morning, this hadn't happened yet. This candle just closed 40 minutes ago. I'm sorry, this candle was created 40 minutes ago. So that might be our upward pressure. The pump that we're seeing right now might be short-lived. We have hit the gap. We hit the gap right there, scantly less than an hour ago. So we pushed into this. So just be careful out there. Just be careful. Now let's look at the monthly though. Bitcoin currently on track, 4 red monthly candles in a row. Last time this happened, bottom of a bear market, bottom of a bear market, bottom of a bear market, 2018, 2014, 2011. Now this is the 4th straight monthly loss. We haven't seen this streak since 2018, like I was saying. And from peak to trough, we have declined 36% over that period. Notably, even in the 22 bear market, when we went from 69 to 15K amid quantitative tightening, crypto-specific industry failures, we got FTX, we got 3 Arrows Cap, but we got all these just collapses left and right. It did not produce more than 3 consecutive negative months. And so we're in uncharted territories. Now let's look here. Wow, that is red by a smidgen. This could be green by the time I finish this sentence. That's how quickly this is moving here. But yeah, we do have 1, 2, 3, 4 red candles. Last time we saw this, bottom, not even, like we said, we didn't even see one in 22. We got 3 here, 2 there, 2 there for a bottom. So we would get 3 red, we'd get a green. 3 red, get a green. 2 red, green, 2 red, green, and then we created a bull run. So seeing 1, 2, I said literally by the time I finished this sentence, it wasn't that sentence, but it was the next sentence. Hit that like button, everybody, for that. I should have put a poly market bet. Now, let's go back to the bear markets here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we saw 6 in 2019. So we're getting all hot and bothered for 4, but we have seen 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. But we haven't seen this in years. We haven't seen this decade. And so to me, that's fairly significant there. The mid-market downturn in 2021, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, this is not great. And it's red again. And it's red. Everybody, this is like Tinkerbell. I need you to smash the likes, and you could turn this green. I'm going to read a couple chats, and this is going to happen only if you hit the like button, folks. All right, bought my first busy at my fiat mining job. Hey, you have a great day. I appreciate a green day profit. Let's see. Stop looking at previous patterns. It's useless. I think most chart analysts would just strongly disagree with that. And what are you using? Are you predicting the future? Give me your crystal ball then. I would like to see your crystal ball. I mean, if you have something that has happened 8 out of 8 times, it does this. I think it's okay to use this knowledge when you're going into the 9th instance to say, all right, well, it's happened 8 times in a row. Odds are in my favor that it's going to happen a 9th time in a row. I don't think there's anything wrong with looking towards the past. We always downtrending. Let's see. Just another mentally. Let's see. The big game for me. F them. Oh, whoa. I didn't know that was going to take a dark turn. Love it. I love you guys when you hit the like button. That's why we stick to the 4-year cycle. We'll see, because we are seeing a lot of signs that things might turn around. Now, can I say something without you guys getting mad? Do not get mad. All right, I'm going to take a sip of coffee just to let it marinate for a second. Can this guy stop buying Bitcoin? If you're a conservative investor who had to be put in the chicken wing to have a 3% allocation for Bitcoin, does it seem good that some psychopath is going to have 10% of the Bitcoin? Do you want some sociopath controlling 10% of some supply? Now, sure, he's only at 3%. He's working towards 4%. So maybe 10% isn't even possible. But 10% is a possibility. And when you have this absolute psycho going out buying all this Bitcoin, it's going to make investors a little bit leery. Can we just have them stop buying? Michael, can you just stop buying? At a certain point, you are a net negative. I know there's a lot of buy pressure. I know it's great for the narrative. Oh, Bitcoin on the balance sheet. But as this guy holds a larger and larger and larger proportion of the Bitcoin network, of all the coins in circulation, it starts, raising the question of, well, where does this end? Where's this heading? And it just seems like a point of failure. All right, better than Fink. I would disagree because Fink is holding on behalf of his clients, and he's not even holding it. He's using a different company. He's using Coinbase to hold that. So in a weird way, Larry Fink barely has any Bitcoin. Sure, they have some of their own IBIT on their own balance sheet, but the vast majority of that they're holding for other people. This sociopath is holding it for himself. And I think it's just maybe not going to end well if he continues to accumulate. Sure, at 3.1%, we're probably not too worried. But when you're trying to convince this, institutional grade investor who, maybe risk averse because they're handling billions, and you're like, well, this madman who was investigated for fraud, or his company was a decade plus ago, yeah, maybe it's a little bit worrying. That's just my point. There's nothing. Yeah, he's a Bitcoin psycho. It's a cool thing. Yeah, man, he's so cool. He loves Bitcoin so much. He's an absolute psychopath. But this psychopath is freaking everybody out, and these people are already scared of a seed phrase. They rely on somebody to hold this Bitcoin for them. So when you're saying this guy has a larger and larger and larger and larger piece of the pie, it just maybe pushes away investors. But let's talk about the yen. I'm not going to read this whole thing. I do want to kind of cover this real quick because we have a history of Bitcoin and its yen reaction. It's only happened twice. And so, yes, we're going to look at the past and say, maybe we could use this nugget of information to determine what's going to happen the third time. So the Fed is preparing to sell US dollars and buy yen for the first time this century. So 26 years. I think we did in the 80s. Now, the Fed has already done rate checks. This is the step taken before real currency intervention. It's rare. Historically, when it happens, global markets surge. So Japan's under heavy pressure. The yen's been weak. The bond yields multi-decade highs. Together, it's stress not for Japan, but for global markets because of the yen carry trade. We've talked about that. You borrow in yen, it's very cheap. You deploy in other assets. Your borrow rate goes up. You're like, let me just go ahead and pay that loan back. So you go ahead and you got to sell those assets. Pushes the markets down. Now they've tried to defend it. Failed 22, failed 24. Even the recent one only worked for a short time. When Japan acts alone, it does not work. When the US and Japan act together, it does work. Now, so when Japan acts alone, that's not enough. Unless we're talking about Chinese citizens in 1943. I shouldn't even make that reference. But we saw this in 1998 during the Asian financial crisis. So it's been 28 years since we've seen, 28 years. The dollar weakened, gold, commodities, non-US markets all pumped. If the Fed intervenes, we'll create dollars. We will sell those dollars and we'll buy yen with the recently printed money. This increases global liquidity, but it weakens the dollar. And when the dollar's intentionally weakened, asset prices usually surge. Now, why is this bullish for crypto? Well, we're still below the peak. It's one of the few major assets that hasn't fully repriced for currency debasement. Unless you're saying it was front ran, but I think a lot of this is too recent for that. So confirmation, if the Japanese government bond market goes belly up, US Treasury market is going to be next. And so they're forcing a lot of money printing to prevent the Japan implosion, because after Japan implodes, the US implodes. So they must prevent this at all costs, including printing a lot of money. What about history? Well, the last one, we got a 29% weekly crash followed by 100% pump. This is more accurate. 30% drop in 7 days, 119% rally over the next 4 months. This is the last time the Fed intervened with the Japanese yen. Now, in there's two sold off. It was the same. You get the same numbers, essentially. We had about a 30% drawdown, and then we pumped close to 100%. And so we have one in the July 24. You can see it right there. I guess ending August 6th. But we also have one, the tail end of 22. So we have it right here. And boom, we have a 98% pump. So roughly, you get that 30% drawdown. This is 31. And then you pump about 100%. This is 31. It's 121%. That's what we've seen. In both cases, the post-shakeout recovery eventually extends into a 100% rally or more. All right. Yes, it was a reference. Yes. No comment on that. Gold over Bitcoin. Bold take there, Cotton. Let's see how that plays out. I think the dollar is going to pump. If you're not holding cash, you're going to get wrecked. All right. You got to hold something. He's choosing dollars there. We need all the silver for drones. Tesla's going to move to BlackRock level if we actually do war. We broke that down. There is that takes me to the other metals. And after we talk about right here, average Bitcoin bear market, when you price Bitcoin and gold, you get a 14-month drawdown, a 14-month bear market. Where are we right now? I got the Bitcoin gold chart right here. So let's just see if it's true. I don't know if it's true or not. Now, it is missing what are we looking at? The 2011? No, the 2014. So it doesn't have the entire 2014 because it was a little bit higher here. But that's a 14-month one. I don't feel like going to the URL and changing the Bitcoin chart. Just did BTC/gold. So 14 months. That is 14 bars. 14 bars. After this, I'll do a freestyle. I'm going to spit 64 bars. Then we got one. I would say it's higher right here. It is. 14 bars. 14 bars. And then this is higher here. $13 bars. So we're getting close. We're getting very, very close. And if you're wondering why that candle is red, started here, wicked up to there, wicked down to there, closed right there. So there you go. It's a little candle knowledge for you folks. Now, asset prices, when you zoom out over the last 10 years, we're not doing crazy, 14 years or anything. Bitcoin, 20,000%. Tesla, 3,000. Apple, 1,000. Microsoft, basically 1,000. Google, 800. Amazon, 700. S&P 500, 300. Gold, 300%. So when you zoom out, gold, is it even that good? Yes, over the last 12 months, it's fantastic. It's the best asset. It's the apex predator. But if you go back a decade, doesn't even beat the S&P 500. Now, they're basically matched. And, gold might beat it today. But look at that number, kind of puts things in perspective. Now, we are going to talk about the silver options. But I got someone who's feeling a lot of pain. There's a silver bug out there, a gold bug, silver bug, but it's also a Bitcoin bug. This guy famously, we've been talking about him recently, famously stacked tons of silver, a lot of gold. But he revealed something that he did with his precious metals portfolio, and it isn't that good. I'm talking about Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I could play the clip. It's right there at the end. Let me. I'm not even gonna. He converted. This is just what he said. I took all my silver, you can't hear, but I took all my gold and silver and converted it into Bitcoin. And this was 11 months ago. This is what he said. Now, do I think he did 100%? I don't even know if that's possible. What are you melting your rings and stuff? I don't know if you went that far. But that's pain. Chat, can I get a like? Can we get a like for Kiyosaki? That one's really got to be rough. That has really got to be rough right there. Proud of all that paper gold. Let's see. Where's ADA on the list? I got ADA on a list. There's a new altcoin ETF. We haven't forgot about altcoins. We're going to talk about altcoins. You can't wear S&P 500 on your neck, though. But if you turn gold into a shirt, you might get murdered if you're in India, at least. Rich Dad's Scam Dag. I think his book is a great stepping stone for financial independence. It's great for if you don't have read any books on finances, it's a good starting point. After his famous book, he went down the toilet. He probably wants to flush his Ledger or Arculus down the toilet after selling everything for Bitcoin. That one's really got to sting. But let's talk about copper. Berenstein, the bear, predicts that the copper shortage will start next year. It will progressively deepen by 2050. Demand will explode, but supply will be limited as the operating mines are being depleted. Getting permits for the new ones, very, very hard, especially in America. Copper super cycle is going to be coming. Copper surge in its best year since 2009. But chat, we know 43% pump is nothing for the precious metals market. It broke 13K per ton early January 26. And the fundamental saying is just beginning. Why? There is catastrophic events happening with the copper mining here. In September 25, there's a mudslide in Indonesia, the world's second largest copper producer. I remember this event. I know it was a copper mine. Killed some workers, buried critical infrastructure under 800,000 tons of wet debris. Goldman Sachs estimates 2.6% of the global annual production wiped out. Full operations won't return until next year. That's not all. There's also Chile tunnel collapse. There's also Kamoa Kakula. This is going to be a flooding event. There's another one in Chile here. And so we're seeing a lot of shortages that's going to be happening this year in 2026. These aren't marginal misses, structural deficits, and our tariff on copper products create a two-tier global market. We've already been seeing that with silver, especially the U.S. hoarding copper while the rest of the world goes short. Not normal market dynamics. Supply data centers are going to need it. Look, it's just it goes on and on and on. And there's, we kind of showed a couple of things here. Copper looks like it could be one of the next things to run. I'm not saying guaranteed, but our copper option is up 36% today. So if you jumped in with us on some of these options, congrats. There was the later one. We got two different options going. This one's up a little bit less. This is the one I was telling chat to buy in the member stream. Told you to buy Friday. There's only 1 day trading. Can't trade this on Saturday or Sunday. You're up 30% today. I gave this to you. I spelled it out to you. I walked you through it. I held your hand. In fact, you look backwards in the sand. There's only 1 footstep. It was mine. All right. I was the one carrying you to this trade because I saw the yen carry trade unwind. And now we're all feeling fine, folks. So smash that like button if you did jump in on that. Septic tank stocks over alts. I mean, probably, but why septic tank stocks? What are the, because the markets are full of doo-doo? Like, I don't know. Is there some poop joke there? Is there a poop joke? That's what I need to know. All right, let's get back into the charts here. So copper looking good. The options looking good. Now we got maybe the funniest story of the year when it comes to crypto criminals. This will make mainstream news. This is the type of thing that your normie aunt or uncle or neighbor or coworker are going to talk to you about. It hasn't hit mainstream news just yet, but I think it will because there's a Trump angle. And anytime there's a Trump angle and it's an attack vector, it normally gets amplified. For better or worse, it's just, it's Trump is clickbaity. That's why. Now there's a threat actor, John Lick. That's not his real last name. We're going to show the guy in a second. Do not mess with his dog. But anyways, he was caught flexing $23 million in a wallet address tied to almost $100 million in suspected thefts from the U.S. government. We covered the story when it happened. Really was light on details because no one knew. There's also other victims. Is from November 25, December 2025. So a lot of victims that this wallet touches, but mostly the government wallet. Now, John got into a heated argument with another hacker known as Dreetan in a group chat to see who had more funds. They call this common lexicon band for band, a little colloquial term for a flex, putting the testicles on the table, if you will. However, the entire interaction was fully recorded. By whom? I don't know. Now, Hacker 2 mocks John, Hacker 1. However, John shares some screenshots. Oh, yeah, you're calling me poor? Well, I'll show you my wallets. He continues to mock him like, oh, yeah, you thought that 2 mil wallet was something? You're still a brokey. Well, yeah, he moved 6 million in ETH. Well, now who's broke? I told you I'm not poor. Well, he then ends up moving 23 million. And so this is all some virgin dorks in a basement trying to flex to each other, right? So this received millions from a government address a long time ago, March 24, was related to Bitfinex hack seizure. So where'd this come from? How did all this happen? Well, it looks like rumors are circulating. John Doghetia. I don't know how to say his last name. Doghetia. I don't know. Dogshitia. Anyways, this guy right here looks like a hacker. This is fitting what someone might do, you know, like, look, man, I got to flex. That matches. Here's his lame looking watch. I mean, what are those? What are those? What are those? That, bro, you're wearing girl boots. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but you know, anyways, yeah, I mean, bro, that is a that belt buckle lacks tee, you know, I think whatever. Okay, so that's the guy right there. Now it gets better. It gets a lot better. It gets crazy, folks. In case you're curious, how is this guy able to steal 40 million from US government seizure addresses? His dad works for the CMDSS. This is a government contractor, has an active IT government contract in Virginia. Now, if you Google this, two things are going to come up: Central Mississippi Down Syndrome Society. I'm not even going to try to Google it. They kind of scrubbed some websites and stuff. They're awarded a contract to assist managing seized Bitcoin. It still remains unclear how John got this from his dad. So this dude's dad owns this company. This company is hired by the government to hold Bitcoin, and John stole it from his dad, Dean Doghacia. So John Lick, yeah, the X account, the website, the LinkedIn were all deactivated. I was able to go to the website. It didn't really tell you much. Afterwards, he began trolling again on Telegram after he was exposed by Zach XBT, and it got even funnier. So the kid gets baited into flexing his wallets on Telegram. He gets recorded. The recordings are leaked. Turns out the wallets are stolen from the U.S. government, and his dad's company has the contract to handle the government Bitcoin. Absolute insanity. Just wait until the mainstream news outlets get their hands on this. Might end up being the crypto story of the year, and we're only in January. And he ended up trolling him. This is from David Bailey, by the way. The son of the CEO hired by the U.S. Marshals to safeguard the nation's Bitcoin stole 40 million. He's now on the run. He's on the run. Take the chase. Treasury must secure the private keys from the Justice Department ASAP before more is stolen. And Zach XBT says 0.6767 ETH in stolen funds was sent to his public wallet by John Lick. So John Lick, literally on the run, trolls Zach XBT 6767 and keeps running with his boots, with his boots, with his watch and his boots. So I do think this is going to be mainstream. This is crazy. He went gangsta on his family. I mean, he's disowned, right? He wasn't paddled enough. If you believe in that, maybe you don't. I don't know. I think it was needed in this case, at least. I don't want to, paint a broad stroke for every child, but yeah, this is totally nuts. He had to take all his watches and jewelry off and hide it, and he walked to the house with dad. I mean, yes, he's like literally, son, where'd you get that boot? Where'd you get those boots, son? He's not a hacker. His dad owns the company that handles U.S. crypto seizure. No, if you saw, he's connected to other hacks. And I'm guessing there's at least some level of sophistication. He had probably like a keyboard logger on his dad's device, or there's some. I don't think he just strolled into dad's office, moved the mouse, just sent the Bitcoin. I think there had to be. I mean, if that's the case, U.S. Marshals, what are you doing, man? What are you doing? You need to hire Wesley Snipes or something. Or you know what? No, you need to get Tommy Lee Jones. He was a U.S. Marshal that knew how to do a good job. So yeah, crazy story there. Probably is going to be mainstream news. I don't know, man. That's just wild. Now, we do have some altcoin news as well. We're not just here to talk about dorky criminals. ARK filed for ARK CoinDesk 20 crypto ETF. Cardano, of course, can't miss Cardano. Any bold news that has like 20 coins involved, the Cardano community, they'll latch on to it and be like, ADA's the winner. But yeah, Cardano's part of the application, along with some other alts, expected to trade on New York Stock Exchange, pending regulatory approval. It's hard to find clean, I try to find just like a text layout here. I couldn't really find it. But we do have, change the zoom and everything just goes topsy-turvy. I refuse to zoom. All right, here we go. This is the CoinDesk 20. You can see there's basically 4 winners, 3 winners besides Bitcoin. And then there's, I guess, a semi-winner. I'll reveal who it is. And then there's a whole bunch of like small ones that I don't know if it's really going to create enough buying pressure to have any kind of impact. Number one's going to be Bitcoin. I mean, you can see it on the bottom, damn it. I didn't realize. Bitcoin. And then what I find surprising, there's more XRP than Ethereum on this thing. And then the gray is going to be Solana. And then coming in, a number 5 spot is Cardano. Takes me back. What is up with the meme? Cardano meme. I pointed this out a week ago. There's 2 memes. There's the Cardano meme and the XRP meme. The Cardano meme, the 3rd place meme, where you got the guy who's popping. You got the guy who's popping champagne. Don't clip that hand thing. He's popping champagne. Now I can't even act it out. It's popping champagne, and you zoom out. You know, he's like biting the metal. You zoom out, he's in like 20th place or he's in 3rd place. That's the Cardano meme. The XRP meme is they turned anything into a positive headline. Literally anything. We saw 3 last week. Well, it's Monday. What do we have for XRP? XRP. All right. Well, whoa. Every day I wake up, I do my research. I do research at night. I do research in the morning. Every day I wake up, I search all the major altcoins. I search all the major publications. I'm looking at my X feed. I'm trying to be plugged in so I can give you guys the best news analysis out there, period, in all of YouTube. I think I'm doing a pretty good job. I think I'm, providing a lot of just clarity, no pun intended, in a sea of noise. And every day, without fail, I see a bullish XRP article that just gets my loins moist. I'm like, yes, I love it. But then I read the article and then I'm just left with, why do they even make it? And I debate not even showing you this. I asked the question last week, who's the bigger a-hole? The guy who made it was a tweet, the guy who made the tweet, the author who made the article based off the tweet, or is it DZ for even sharing any of it? But that being said, let's go ahead and show this XRP story. This is a bullish story. Oh my God, a company moved it to the balance sheet. It is time. It is here. They want a better money. And it is $22,000 worth. Okay. I'm just going to move on. It is a good headline, but we want that to have an extra comma, at least an extra comma. And in fact, we like 2 digits in front of that first comma. I mean, 9 million, I guess, is a lot, but all right, folks, that is our show for today for me, but we got the best show out there, and we're not done. Drew, I didn't give you any warning.
I liked it.
You just put on a t-shirt too. It was almost dicey there.
I'm trying to stay warm out here, man. It's a sweatshirt,
What do you think of my identifying the Cardano meme and the XRP meme? Did you get a chance to hear that?
Yeah, it's absolutely spot on.
Put that filter on, chat. Put that filter on, everybody. You're going to see it everywhere.
It's unfortunate. It's the reality. Thanks, DZ. You covered a lot of news. I got a lot of thinking to do after that amount of news. So shout out to you. Today, I have been trading Bitcoin over the weekend. I've been mostly trading the later hours, the Asian trading hours, but I'm going to take a look at Bitcoin. And also some of the, larger altcoins. I really need to, just as DZ was saying, ingest the data that we have of how much money has been flowing in and out of these old school altcoins to really see if there's any chance of longevity in them, right? Can they survive the crypto icy winter that's trying to hold on to us? And shout out to you if you did have any issues with the ice this last weekend. My heart goes out to you. Luckily, I barely escaped out of the main problem zone of it, but yeah, it's definitely a thing out here. So let's get into it. Make sure to follow me at Drew Crypto, or at Drew Weidert, rather. I get all of the best memes. This is my thought this weekend. It's, we're all the penguin. We're all the penguin. Unemployment this way, 9 to 5 grind the other way. And we just turned around and bolted straight towards the mountain range, 70 kilometers away. God willing, we'll make it there, folks. God willing. But I absolutely love crypto. And I'm happy to be sharing my thoughts on it with you every single day here. So now, here's Bitcoin on a 15-minute chart, more zoomed in. This is kind of like my trading action that I was doing over the weekend. And I was in position and caught this long, right? I was noticing some divergences. in this zone at around $86,400. So I did indeed take that long. Got out of the position right at the top end of this green highlighted bar zone here. And the overall thesis is that there is a lot of buying pressure going on at 87 to 87.2, which has been a buoyant position for Bitcoin every time it's fallen down to it so far. Best said by DZ, though, the more times you knock on this door, the more likely you are to get through it, right? So we bounced off of this position many, many, many times in December of last year. And it created a lot of just general volume node strength in this local range here. I'm going to be taking a look at the volume nodes later on for Bitcoin, because I do think that does matter in context of what we're talking about here. But something ugly happened on the charts is we broke down out of this ascending channel. And these were, as we were talking about last week, this particular setup was likely to break down. It didn't break down too bad, though. And we did not sweep the lows and the liquidity that sits here in the $83,000 to $80,000 range, right? So that was very, very interesting thing to see. We had a lot of news, a lot of problems happening in the markets that had all the juice in the world to get us down there. So the 100% Canada tariff threat, you know, we had markets reacting to the chance of a government shutdown coming back again. January consumer confidence data, Fed interest rates, Microsoft, all their earnings coming out on Wednesday this week. Apple's reporting their earnings on Thursday, and then December, the PPI inflation data comes out on Friday here. So it's going to be a very, very hectic week, and I think it's going to be very useful to be plugged in and get as much data as I can on how Bitcoin acts now that it's broken down from this just general ascending channel. Right. This is something very, very important to pay attention to. Now, if we look at and side note, I had to talk to you guys about this. Side note, I found where to buy my favorite hot sauce. What is your favorite hot sauce, guys? This is mine. I love Tabasco and Texas Pete and all the others. I like hot sauces that bite. This is a jalapeno. It comes with Serrano, sriracha, you know, the habanero, and the ghost pepper sauce from a Yellowbird. Not sponsored, but they honestly should, because it's fire. Just in and out of trades this weekend. Had a couple good grabs on multiple different accounts. That's my 2-bit account that I just showed you there. Nice moves. And really, the concern lays in my mind. This is the TA that, you know, it's been on my mind for quite some time, but just looking at the structure and take into account there is some buoyancy. You know, I really don't think, you know, the $30,000 Bitcoin is in my mind's eye to get, right? And I can understand why, if you're looking at this general pattern, you know, a lot of chart analysts are going to look at this and be like, okay, well, here's your head, here's your shoulders. Then they'll go ahead and measure the head and shoulders just to figure out the general spot that they expect the Bitcoin price to fall to. Right around like $40,000, right? I don't think that's in the cards for us, though, because the cost to produce Bitcoin is at $74,000. The cost to produce Bitcoin, a very, very important structurally defendable price point for Bitcoin. It sits at $73,900 right now. Now, the last time we entered Bitcoin winter, right, it was a time where it felt like everything was going to hell in a handbasket, but the context and keeping this in mind helped me buy the perfect bottom. It was the understanding of where the price to mine Bitcoin sits as price is cascading, right? At this time, it was about $19,000. We got, just below that price to produce the Bitcoin, and I took advantage of that low as well. But a lot of my bigger buys were on this range, right? And it's all based upon the price to produce Bitcoin and noting where the previous all-time high zone is. And at that time, it was sitting at $19,000. So use the same concept. You know, I think to a degree, this is going to look similar, but not on a percentage basis, because you've had the amount of Bitcoin issued cut in half. Have to keep in mind this. So this is why the dynamics change as we move forward here, even in a bearish, and I'm talking worst case scenario type approach here, because I do like buying lows. It keeps you from feeling ugly when the charts maybe have a big dip. I am keeping this zone at $70,000, $69,000 circled, price just below the cost to produce, previous market high, essentially right here at the 2021 high, and generally structurally makes sense. This is an institutionally driven, ETF driven crypto Bitcoin market now. And what this looks like to me is institutional run up, wash down to previous levels, run up, wash down to previous levels, run up, wash down. And now you're getting into the real thick of those previous levels here. So, and honestly, like I'm not leaving that out of my mind, and then be able to just keep walking up and doing the same thing again. That is generally what I feel like the market are set up to do, just from who's the ones buying the Bitcoin. And I would say that these organizations, as the regulatory adoption of crypto gets rolled out, they're going to want to get people out of position, especially in the projects that have the biggest chance of long-term major success. The goal is to get retail out of position before they actually implement or move forward with it on the scale that they talk about happening today. It's amazing to hear them saying those things, that they're going to do it. But, we just got to keep this in mind. Institutions hate us. They likely are going to continue this wash up, go back to previous all-time high, wash up. And I think that this Bitcoin chart, when all is said and done, is going to look very, very similar to the general TVL in Bitcoin as well. Or really crypto in general. Check out the TVL chart. So the TVL chart is just this run up, wash out, run up, wash out, run up, wash out, but making higher lows all along the way. Not going to be surprised if Bitcoin ends up looking something similar over the next few years here. And we got to keep in mind, major organizations like Standard Chartered are calling for that wash down, run up to 150, wash it down, run it up to $200,000. If you're looking at this from the forest of the trees a few years down the line from now, in an environment like that, it makes a whole hell of a lot of sense. And what CZ says about the super cycle eventually will play out. I kind of feel like it's going to look like this. So that's where I'm at right now. We have broken from the upward channel on Bitcoin. I did just delete the upward channel to try to clean things up a bit. Let's clean up a couple of my older trades here. I'm going to leave that buy interest zone highlighted though, because I feel like that zone is very, very powerful. And we'll get rid of some of the noise here. So on the weekly of Bitcoin, we have had turbulence happen. We had an unfortunate event and things are not looking great on the weekly. So we had the hopes and dreams of this weekly money flow swooping back up. But you know what happened is just a sharp ride downtown for the money flow on Bitcoin. And unfortunately, we have clipped and are showing a red dot on the weekly, folks. Being very, very forefront with you on my thoughts. This is not a good sign, right? And it's from this general run up, liquidity grab up to about $98,000. And then now we have subsequently fallen at the highest point by about 12.2%. Sitting here riding around trying to prove that there is still buying pressure here in the $87,000 range. This is quite interesting for me to see. Yeah, we get the 10 a.m. can be a pump or a dump, depending on how they want to scam the market, right? So the 10 a.m. this morning, it washed to the upside, got a lot of liquidity that was built up for shorts that were kind of late to the party. There were shorts there to grab up. And they indeed did get it in trading terms. If you are out there trading, and shout out to the Discord, I'll go over the Discord's trading win rate after this. But one of our, along with the trading quant and the community of traders that we have in the Discord, another good friend and a good tool to use as we navigate this is the liquidation heat map on CoinGlass. You go here, it gives you all the different exchanges. The most primary data that I like using is the Binance, and either on the 24-hour or 12-hour if I'm looking more short-term. And there is liquidity being built up below us. But as you can see, the 10 a.m. run-up went and snagged a bag of a couple $100 million in liquidations to have at least on Binance in and of itself. If you go through, the point will probably be proven on Gate as well. So you could just go through all the different exchanges, trader mentalities, they're pretty similar across the board here. And, you could just go through. The real one that's different is Hyperliquid, because these are major whales with huge room for sweeps to the upside or downside. So it was a fun weekend trading on 2bit and Blowfin on both exchanges. I was absolutely crushing it. And now I'm watching this, potentially I might be interested in feeling out, sniffing around another $87,000 at least scalp pump. A lot of the, different, it's been this singular pattern that I keep seeing where it's an angled W pattern. They'll sweep the liquidity lower and then start moving, and these things I was able to get out of the way, thankfully, and take, my profits when I was getting in and out. Now I'm letting some dust settle. This formation, if it does go how it's been going, would look something like this, and then just running into all the volume nodes up top here. So now I actually want to go to a larger view of my Blowfin, or actually 2bit account rather, to look at the visible volume profiles, because the visible volume profiles are basically like these shelves where you find at least a dead cat bounce from, or some price turbulence, either if you're going down or up. And in this market, things have been so ugly, I've been having to institute some shorts to start making some money. I'm having a really good time. I took the holiday off of trading, and I've gotten back at it, and Lord love a duck, got a sequoia. So things have been going well. I've been feeling pretty feisty on the charts lately. And you know what? Like in 2025, I can completely acknowledge like it was a battleground, but I had to take the ball into my own hands and create my own bull market, right? Some argue that small traders, or traders that aren't $100 million worth of value, are moving the markets. It's so silly. The real ones who are moving the markets are the institutions. It's clear as day. So let's hop into Blowfin, actually 2bit. Let's use 2bit, and let's check out the visible volume profiles now, because these are going to matter. These matter quite a bit. I'll go to different setup here. I don't really have the setup that I want necessarily, but this is the visible volume profile. Now, the main point of price support and defense for Bitcoin sits at $67,000. The main point of price defense sits at $67,000. Right now, we are losing the volume node that we were trying to get out of. At the volume node, this is where all the buys and sells happen. And as I said, you can look at these as shelves. We are one tick lower from testing. $84,000 is the node below us. And by God, we better defend that if we do fall to that level. Like, if we lose the $84,000 mark right here, if we lose this, we are more likely, in my opinion, to bounce at least off the top shelf of this visible volume profile right here. And the top end of that shelf is at about $70,000. So we're we're kind of uncomfortably close to that bottom shelf here on the visible volume node, and that makes me just very cognizant. My favorite crypto in this season of seeing, say, taking a break on the charts, for Bitcoin or crypto, my favorite crypto is Tether and Bitcoin, because I can get more Tether and get cheaper Bitcoin in this kind of environment. So I'm just calling a spade a spade. There'll be a lot of people that are upset, and honestly, like, my heart wants to say up, but if we lose $84,000, the probabilities are pointing down. And if you want to, I know we're trained to look at things going up and to the right. As we head into this season, maybe just invert the scale, put it upside down, so it gives you some perspective. And this looks like it's trying to set up an upside down head and shoulders. I completely understand the thesis, and it looks magnetized to around mid $60,000. So I'm just keeping that in mind. Now, even though I'm looking at all this data, I'm 2/3 long, 1/3 short. And it's been a recipe that's been working for me because we haven't necessarily seen the massive cataclysm to the downside. There is some major news going on that, has given some potentiality for that. So we'll go over the news as well. And then I want to look at some altcoin charts. So let's share this screen the normal, good old fashioned way here, because we had some news come up while DZ was talking earlier in the show about the Senate Agricultural Committee. Let's check this out. I don't think this is moving the markets too much, but the U.S. Senate Agriculture Committee has rescheduled the crypto market structure markup to Thursday, January 29th. They're still trying to get it done within the week. And even when we do get these things signed, it's not like some magical door is going to open and the light is going to start shining on every single thing within crypto. I think the initial move could be for DeFi and stablecoins if they do it in a well-fashioned manner for crypto. If they're being positive towards what DeFi has built with crypto, then you'll probably get some action on those first. But generally, stablecoins, we're in a stablecoin super cycle because this is crypto being adopted. It may not feel or look the same way as it was explained to look years ago, but this is the reality of the situation. Now, let's keep rolling through the news here. I want to get to the altcoin section. We already covered everything. Just reiterating this for everyone trading this week with me. Markets are going to react to this Canada tariff threat and this whole China-Canada consortium thing that Trump's talking about. 75% chance of government shutdown. Obviously, there's civil problems here in the U.S. That's ongoing, and the Democrats are angry. The Republicans are angry, and we're at a lockup now. Again, January consumer confidence data is coming out tomorrow, and the Federal Reserve interest rate decision and press conference is on Wednesday. That's a big one. Microsoft, Meta, and Tesla earnings reports on Wednesday. Apple reports on Thursday, and then you get the PPI data. Just keep all those things in mind as we move forward. Now, that being said, I want to ask you guys before I get too deep into this, if you have an altcoin that if you want to gut an altcoin that you hold to make sure that it's still valid to take a chance on, I'm in a lot of positions that I had gotten a lot of profits over the past few years. I've been shaving profits actively when we had blow off moments, which, it wasn't like 10, 20x moments. It was 5x moments, but I still protected myself in that matter. And now I'm, kind of looking around this landscape. And if we do indeed hold above that volume node I showed you on Bitcoin, it's probably a lot of fun to have this year. So I'm interested in this from you guys. We got XLM for Stellar. We got Ondo from Boosted. We got Plume. We got HBAR. Let's check them all out. I'll check out HBAR, Plume. I already had Ondo pulled up though, because Ondo's been on my mind. Someone's been reading my mind about that. But I'll keep those in mind and drop them in the chat if you have things you want me to check out in this regard. Now, first, I'll just start with the news, right? So we get this. We're going to get constant fountains of good news, even if the markets go to hell in a handbasket. Let's just acknowledge that first and foremost. Now, the rollout of tokenized stocks is a new aspect of thinking about the integration of what crypto can do. I completely acknowledge this, and so this interests me, right? Forbes is highlighting Ondo now validating these tokenized stocks, which are expanding access to assets that were previously out of reach, though these assets are on the traditional Wall Street side. But Ondo being integrated plays into some potential price pressure on this project, especially if it can last long term. Now, this is an interesting concept, and industry now projected tokenized stocks to reach $2.2 to $4 trillion by 2030, right? So they're saying that this is going to be worth a lot eventually, or if it has a chance to grow. Now, the TVL on Ondo looked good last week. Just a quick highlight on this data point is we are starting to pull back on TVL for the short term, but it is moving up and to the right. Fees are getting thicker right here. So fees are getting thicker, though day by day you're seeing 120,000, 290,000, so they're not pulling in millions of dollars a day. Just a quick highlight on that. And then, so we look at all this information. We look at the general TVL in crypto. It doesn't look bad. So then my mind goes to where's the price, right? Where is the price? So Ondo is sitting right now at $33, and it has lost basically every single layer of support it had built up for itself through its lifespan, except for the 25-cent mark. The 25-cent mark was tested on October 10th on Ondo. But you look at this chart, you look at this price chart, and you're like, wait a minute. I was just looking at this chart, which is the total value locked. These things look inverse in relationship, right? This doesn't make sense. What the hell is going on? What's going on is token unlocks and emissions, though vested and in what they call a controlled manner. We had previously around 3.3, I think it's billion. Yeah, 3.03 billion tokens in the release supply. Now we move forward. We're going to be moving towards 5.3 billion tokens in release supply. This is a very, very strong factor. A lot of, people behind this that are just nonstop believers of this will tell you, no, they're not selling on you. No. The charts look inverse, right? You're getting a release of tokens. You're getting a general pullback in the altcoin sector. And Bitcoin is fighting for its life and right to party in the $80,000 region and up, right? We've been knocking on that door, as I just showed you. So this project, if I do see a further washout, marking, toe back in the water on it would be in that 20-cent region. It would at minimum be at 29 cents. Like if I want to take another dip in the Ondo pool, it'd be below 20 cents. I initially found this project at around 38 cents. It was like in these run-up candles here. And I was able to sell it just about at $2, which I feel really kind of crazy for doing, but it worked out. And really, I had some left over. And, the hope was I had about 25% of the bag left over after this, end of December 2024 sale. And I just had to get out of the way when it kept bumping its head against $1 and getting slapped down. That is indeed what's happened since then, is it has been slapped down very, very viciously. I'm not in a mood to take a chance on this in this current way of how altcoins are moving. But if I do get a deeper resurgence on Bitcoin and it gets a little bit more battle tested, a lot of people would say this thing is dead if it hits 20 cents, but that's kind of the region where it looks like it's magnetized to. It does. I mean, until proven otherwise, and Bitcoin can start leading the charge, which if we do see a Bitcoin turnaround, Bitcoin will indeed lead the charge. But, it is what it is. It is what it is. We got to see this. We really have to see us, overtake those volume node levels that I was showing earlier. We really, really do. And, to the upside, let's talk about how we could get validated that we're in for good times on Bitcoin. The main POC, the point of control on the current range, sits at about $96,350, right? If we saw something miraculous, like we run into this volume node, but then keep fighting, pump up above it, the best design of validation would be we come down to it and then bounce, right? That's what I need to see, because it's usual to overshoot these volume nodes. If things do get ready to party once again, it's usual to overshoot them and then come down and prove them as support. And as things sit right now, that on this current range is $96,359. If we can run that up, overtake that as support, we'd probably be partying up to this 104 spot. So there is a chance that the market actually turns over and doesn't fall back down. A lot of the crazier news events that we've had, I mean, Trump walked Maduro through New York in shackles after sending crazy stuff in. And we've seen a lot of different news events happen that had the definite potential to push us down into these regions. So we got to acknowledge that. As I'm seeing all this data, there is all the reasons in the world for Bitcoin to crash down to at least the low $80,000 range. It hasn't done it. And I have to acknowledge that, right? There is some price structure strength showing right now, even though this short-term chart doesn't look good. If we can overtake this 96.3 mark, it would be a pretty good moment to see for Bitcoin. So I'm a hopeful romantic, and honestly, I got the tether set aside to buy this range, this mammoth volume node here at 65,000-70,000 bucks. I do, but as you sit right now, I'm feeling more uppity than lowity. And I'm just using stop losses in case I'm wrong. It's turning out really good. And that's the thing. If you are trading out there, we have a link in the description for our Discord. But 20 to 30% is absolutely awesome to be able to pull day in and day out, right? That compounds very quickly. So, you'll have some FOMO when you close a trade that ends up going in the complete way that you thought in general. I totally get those feelings. But, making 20 or 30% on a day on a trading mag is incredible, right? If you can recreate that. So we got a lot of people wanting to look at Avalanche. Check out River. God, what's River at $100 now? Quant, that's a throwback. Quant's probably worth looking at. I wonder, initial thoughts when you bring up Quant is the $80 range on Quant. So I'll check that out here in a minute. All right, let's keep rolling through all of the data here. So I left off kind of on Ondo and the token unlocks and why that price is so whack. Generally, this year has been kind of interesting in terms of total net flows. This is year to date. And, let's just go to the full 1 year so we can get a better, because year to date isn't exactly the data I want. Ethereum, by and large, a big winner here with top net flows going in and out, accounted for, and coming up with the general flow actually has been. Ethereum is the winner. Hyperliquid right behind it. A lot of trading, a lot of exciting feelings and moves from major accounts into trading on a decentralized exchange, which I love absolutely seeing. You have to have centralized and decentralized, kind of a counterweight to each other in this world to really see success. Solana coming out in the green, but just barely. EdgeX beating Solana. Starknet, what the heck is going on there? World Chain, Sam Altman's wonderful little toy here, and Sonic. Now, Sonic is crazy to see in the top net flows because that price has been absolutely bleeding. And, you see the top general flows. I mean, we are down on the base network by 1.6 billion overall, right? We're down on Unichain. We're down on BNB, down on Polygon, all of these other chains. Kind of crazy to see Linnea, a tiny one, highlighted next to the rest of these big ones here. But general flow view. Now let's get into it. Let's check out Aerodrome. Let's see where Aerodrome is at. It's at 44 cents. Now, this is an interesting moment for Aerodrome. This is an interesting moment. I don't think Aerodrome can defend itself against a larger altcoin pullback yet, but I do think Aerodrome has longevity built into it, the potential for longevity. I've been sitting on my foot. So let's pull up these lows here. Let's pull up these lows. Linnea has been losing its absolute buttocks when it comes to being able to defend any level of price. All right. And so that's what, I got to take that data very seriously. Got to take that, even if I only have a 0.5% or a 1% allocation, I do watch those things because things can always get worse on altcoins if the general market falls apart. The structure of these lows is angling downwards, which I don't like. Seeing this, like if we would have had a clean break back up and then, not be testing or coming damn near testing new lows on Aerodrome, it would look a lot better from a, just my perspective. Aerodrome is on my mind because I think it's going to last. The market cap's at about $500 million. It's $400 million market cap on it. And the volume is actually up by 43%, which is a good sign. Aerodrome just beats me up. You got to buy low and sell high, right? And then sometimes I got to get out of the way of further downside if I don't want to have my risk level too high as we're going into the literally we're going into the great unknown. I mean, I could go off on this channel and probably get us demonetized, but that's for the basement to talk about everything that's happening in America and all that. But we are going into the unknown in terms of stagflation. Everyone's sitting here biting the gold dog. And I was talking about this on the morning meeting with the team here. Gold, right? The last time that we saw gold do something like this, it absolutely exploded in the same manner that we're seeing, but then took 20 years in a bear market, right? And so this gold chart, awe-inspiring as it may be, which absolutely it is. I mean, gold, since it got out of this range of $2,000 per ounce, it's pumped by 150%, 1.5x, 1.5x. But it's a massive market cap to be able to move. And the last time we saw a similar price structure like this on gold was a very nasty, nasty realization for the U.S. economy that they had entered stagflation, no monetary velocity, inflation increasing, but interest rates, money becoming less valuable, and the ability to stop inflation going insane. We're seeing all of the same kind of structure now that we saw in 1979 to 1980, which caused gold to absolutely rally from its, kind of a accumulation zone. Gold went absolutely ballistic, even from this bull flag. It rallied by 111%, and from its general kind of coiling event, it rose by 278%. Right, but the problem is when you have movements like this in heavy metals, usually means wars on the horizon. And there's a lot of government psyop and essentially scam to push people out of gold back into the fiat currency, which subsequently lasted for gold after this blow off top event right around 8,694 days. So, when you see things like this happening to the heavy metals market, it is not a healthy market. It is not a healthy market when you see something like this. So, crypto, as disruptive and revolutionary as it may be, it's going into an environment, as I just described. Aerodrome, I think we actually need to see some of the older price action, because I remember YOLOing into this thing very, very cheap before the real fun happened. It was 18 cents. You were there with me on the basement. It was a great ride. And we were taking profits above the $2 mark because we hit those a few times, right? Hitting what is that? 18 to, $2. That's a lot. That's a big increase, from 20 cents to $2 a piece. So right now, Aerodrome really is more likely to bounce than not. The low end of this range is at 30 cents. I really, really think that this has the potential to show some price strength. In context of altcoins, what's a good reminder is go into the Bitcoin dominance chart and just see how much dominance Bitcoin is flexing over these bad boys right now. Oh, yeah. He's fighting back against that general shoulder pattern. Look at this. So Bitcoin, in order for this head and shoulders on the Bitcoin dominance to actually play out, Bitcoin would need to be losing some serious strength in a very short amount of time. As things sit right now, it's trying to extend out of what would be, reasonably called a head and shoulders pattern, and is finding some support in this range, which, that's not good for alts. This is not good for alts. Very, very interesting. GME is cooking. Let's go through and see here. Looking a bit toppy. Should we buy more EU coins? For EU and just that whole movement against privacy, I think the privacy sector is going to actually have the privacy sector is going to walk to the beat of its own drum. I would say that. I would say that. I think that the privacy sector will walk to the beat of its own drum. Privacy coins are more so driven by government ripping privacy out of people's hands. Then you get the kind of teenager reaction to it. So just keep that in mind. I think that they're kind of inverse to each other to a degree. So these things are looking a little bit sketchy, though. These altcoins are looking a little bit sketchy, seeing this dominance fight back the way that I'm seeing right now from a statistical standpoint. And the guts of this volume node did end up being that form of support there. So just beware Benjamin Cowan. if you hold altcoins, beware of Benjamin Cowan if this thing does start taking a walk back up to the upside, because he will have no mercy. Absolutely no mercy if that rolls back over. All right, let's check out Quant. I want to check out Quant. Bitcoin owned by retards. You know what? Bitcoin, it's such an interesting thing seeing the new Bitcoin holders come in and the comparison to the old Bitcoiners. It is absolutely insane. Let's check out. So let's go to Quant. Let's check it out here. Maybe if I have time, I'll do Plume as well. Let's check it out. Bam. All right, $75. Very close to the $80 guesstimate. Haven't looked at Quant in a while. Really quite flat. Really quite flat on Quant's price. You do have just weaker and weaker impulses on its lifespan here. The floor is being defended, which is kind of interesting, and it's a floor of higher lows. So that is actually quite curious. Let's check this out here. This is a pretty old trend line that's defending concisely. Okay. There's going to be a lot of worries. I think Quant, it's understandable to be like, it's, this thing's probably, done for. But I mean, it's defending the higher lows, even with the kind of excitement. It is turning more into a stable coin. There is, not as much action on it if you're looking at it from the weekly, but within the last 24 hours, this is a very interesting note. The volume is up by 75% on Quant. Let's look at this thing. $75 Quant is now the new 100. That's actually probably pretty accurate, Collectree. That's probably pretty accurate. When I see a weaker and weaker impulse to the upside through its lifespan, you really got it's poop or scoot time, right? It's poop or scoot time. Are we going to get clarity and some big green light where every single crypto project gets their little chance at the banker table? Probably not, right? There's probably room for a couple altcoins, maybe at the bankers table, but everything and anything under the sunshine. Quant, yeah, it had its moments for that narrative. It had its moments for the narrative in 21, and this is, a lot of money was made on that 1,000% increase, and it seems like it's just slowly bleeding down into the peak of this triangle here. God knows, a lot of people tell you it's guaranteed to break to the upside from here. These aren't. These altcoins are not guaranteed to pump. I probably better, without even looking at all the different altcoins, particularly, would be just looking at Ethereum. And Ethereum, let's get the money flow going on Ethereum. Let's actually dissect Ethereum here. It's worth it. It's worth it. It's worth it for my bags, at least. It's fine now. All right. Now, this on the weekly. Hoping for that swoop. Still have not seen it. Momentum is beat down to the downside. Riding that fresh red weekly dot as well. These are ugly to see. One thing about Ethereum that actually still stands, the thesis on it, just looking at this, would be something similar to this triple dot threat, the green, red, green follow-up. It's just very ugly to see now a fully confirmed red dot within the general money flow on Ethereum. So that's ugly, right? That is ugly. ETH needs to drop to 60. I wonder if you're highlighting this because that is actually something I was looking at. Is every time that ETH's gotten like a true reversal, other than this green dot kind of follow up here, was when the momentum wave moved at or below 60. Right now, we're sitting, I think, at like 40 right now. So we actually have some room. Man. What about Matt is working some magic in the background for the blockchain basement. So when on the basement, we'll talk about all the crazy stuff going on in the world. I think that valid enough is the crazy stuff going on with our bags. Ethereum, just looking at this, I can tell that there's going to be a strong volume node at the mid $2,000 range. I think we need to go check it out, guys. I do. I think that we need to go check this out just to keep it real with everyone on where we're at here. Okay. If I'm lying, I'm dying. That's what I gotta be saying about this, because this is a situation. Let's go check out Ethereum. So yeah, that volume node, the point of control, I guessed it. It was right on the money. $2,500 is the POC. Let's back up, and this is on the daily. Let's go get more data here. Ice got him probably. Yeah, probably. Yeah, even on the complete price data that I have, looking at the weekly, since Ethereum has broken out of the $1,000 a token range, the main POC here is about $2,500. I take this as good news, chat. I take this as good news, because even if everything goes to hell in a handbasket in the short term, and we are heading and snooping around to find market lows over the next few months, if Bitcoin does go to that 70K region, it looks like $2,500 is going to be defended from Ethereum. It does. That is a very, very massive volume node, a lot of buys at that zone, and we are damn near there. So that's actually quite hopeful, dare I say. I mean, I think that's quite hopeful. I'll check out the arena chat. AVAX. Is AVAX at $11? Holy God, I got to go check that out. NFA, nobody keeps the top gold in mind. Dollars going to zero. Central banks are selling dollars for gold in uncertainty, and you can guarantee the government will be printing more dollars. That is a good thing to keep in mind, Mr. NFA. Absolutely love that. Now, Ethereum, I take this volume node being so close to where we're at right now is actually a really good sign that it's likely to find price defense there, even if things do find a way to sniff out those lower lows. And, we do have the Federal Reserve meeting this week. I don't know how much the Fed meeting is really going to affect Bitcoin's price. Why in the U.S. not buying Bitcoin? Silver at $114. Oh, my God. That is absolutely crazy. Matt was in a silver long. Oh, my God. He's probably losing his mind right now. He's probably losing his mind in the background. That is absolutely crazy. Now, let's snoop through the charts here. Another one that I'm keeping an eye on, and I feel like is a very strong infrastructurally, is Morpho. It's held up quite well, even with all the altcoins getting really, really hammered. It is up on the week, surprisingly. Morpho, let's kind of look behind the apple, under the skin, and see what the TVL is looking like after all this. Yeah, Malik is printing. Oh, my God. He's losing his mind. I knew he was. Oh, man. That's absolutely fun. 114.4. Woo! Wow. I love that. Love that. The Morpho TVL looks fine. This looks healthy. It's at 6. Oh, God. This is a really maybe a bad omen. 6.667 billion. In TVL, they're not a good omen right there. Honestly, though, I think Morpho, useful product. It seems very defendable at the dollar range. I will say that I've seen a lot of price defense at the dollar spot for Morpho, or just above it rather, at this $1.10 spot. So, if things do completely unwind, anything under $1 for Morpho, I think is pretty strong. I think Morpho is going to keep moving up in the lending market. I think the lending on crypto is something that it's going to find its own stride and be sought after regardless. Look at the lending graph. The lending graph, this is actually what the Bitcoin graph is going to end up looking like when you look at things all said and done. So lending on crypto, I think, is going to remain strong. Aave and Morpho still remain King Kugla. Morpho is twice the total TVL of the next one in line, which is Just Lend. You have Sparkland and Maple and all those different things. But power is very consolidated into Morpho and Aave right now. So very, very interesting. Let's see. I'll go through chat and go through some questions. Drew, do you think there's any big altcoins that will not make it this run? Absolutely, I do. Now, which ones is the big question? Let's actually go with the coin market cap. Which ones is the big question here? In the top 10, let's just go through the options. So, top 10 altcoins that I think are systemically at risk. I don't think ETH is at that level. BNB, XRP, Solana, Tron, Dogecoin, Cardano, Bitcoin Cash, and Monero. This is the top 10. Chainlink is at number 11 if you're discounting, Ethereum essentially. And this is also discounting stable coins. Out of these projects, chat, which ones do you feel like have lost the most momentum on chain? BNB, XRP, Solana, Tron, Dogecoin, Cardano, or Bitcoin Cash? Let me know what you think. If I were to have to shoot from the hip and assume one of these is going to lose its top 10 position, you guys are going to hate my answer. You're going to hate my answer here. Honestly, I think it's between ADA and Bitcoin Cash for me. It's between ADA and Bitcoin Cash for me. That's what I think. Yeah, I don't know if everyone's going to get mad at me for saying that. That's where I think the vibes are down the most, right? The action's down the most. So if activity starts waning and then you have no real, God, yeah, it's tough. Snakeadelic knows it's tough. Yeah. Now Cardano and XRP notably are up for the day, so they're up by 3.7% for XRP, and I think about 2.7% for Cardano, which is kind of interesting as the rest of the market's taking a big haircut here. BNB probably is, but it's probably too powerful, right? It's probably too powerful. Tron is very powerful in Southeast Asia, right? So we have to think in terms of where actions actually happening. We have to look at where actions actually happening. Let's actually go take a look at Avalanche here. Let's check out Avalanche and see what it is looking like. It is $11.74. Oh my goodness gracious, googly my. Ooh. Yeah. So I remember a bird. I was talking to a bird that just seemed to know a lot about Avalanche, right? And this bird told me that if it loses 8.5, it's a quick ride down to the release point at $4. So structurally, that notion would make sense just in general. There is no volume between this shelf here at $4 and then the ride up to the $10 region. There is no volume. So, yeah, but a lot of different altcoins look like this. A lot of altcoins do look like this right now. This is completely driven by Ethereum and just general moves in altcoins. You have lower highs all the way since December 23 till the recent pump in September of 2025, where AVAX pumped up to about 30, maybe $40, right? So that was a pretty good pump right here. We got to take that into account. Then it fell from $40 down to where it's at now at $11.75. So this is the brutality of altcoins for sure. In one regard, the general movement of these waves that it experienced to the upside, though, have notably gotten smaller and smaller. This is insane. Oh my God, this is absolutely insane. We're at what should be the low, but dudes and dudettes, cryptos die all the time. Cryptos die all the time. And actually, I think it was Steve-O that tagged me. I was meaning to go over this on the basement, but this is very relevant to kind of this moment that I'm talking about right now. And it's about where how low crypto can actually go, right? Where the actual floors are. And let's pull up Steve's comment here. Let's pull it up. I'll pull it up, buddy. So, some altcoins that can be bought today at a great value, right? And they have longevity. There's an outlook of hope in them for sure. But others will continue to go down, way down. It is your job to do your own research and figure out which is which. Most altcoins will not survive much lower. Altcoins are not priced at great value. And the reason why we have to be real with this situation is because a lot of altcoins design their revenue and their business model around a 4-year cycle euphoric peak. Yes. And that peak did not happen. So, when that peak does not happen and the company never hits that great blowout moment, then you really got to start questioning, is this sustainable? Is this sustainable? So, just keep that in mind. And just look at this is kind of crazy to look at. Prepare your eyes because this is on light mode. So I know there's going to be people in the chat that I can't see, but this is the way back mode. And this is a quick walk down memory lane. So Bitcoin sitting at a price of $37,000. ETH was essentially the same damn price at $2,400. BNB, instead of the $800,000 BNB that you see today, this is a $300 token, right? So it's had some great upside since point A to B. Cardano, even without fun and being down 25%, was at $1. Okay. Solana being down 31% was still only $94 a token. That is, the Wayback Machine's trying to lose it. XRP down 16% at 62 cents. XRP, I know that it's getting dumped on consistently. There's going to be always pressure from Ripple. The cult is massive, and they have defended the current $2 price zone, $1.80 price zone very, very viciously. Credit where credit is due. Luna, it's down to zero basically right now, but at this time is $62. Things can get ugly quick. Polkadot, $18. Avalanche, 67. Right? A lot of these smaller altcoins had much, much price valuations at a much lower price for Bitcoin. Power is being lost by the altcoins. It's undeniable. We're sitting here at a $3 trillion market cap, and nearly 2 trillion of that, 1.74, is all Bitcoin. And then you have another 350 to Ethereum, right? Power is being isolated. And yes, Ripple is extremely good at marketing, right? Ripple is extremely good at marketing. So, there is that. I don't need to continue or help them. They already spend God knows how much on marketing. Trust AVAX much more than the new coins like Sway, Say, and Ondo. Yeah, it's hard to think of AVAX in the terms of something that we knew, like somebody that we used to know. It is hard to think that way, but it is possible. So we have to look at revenue metrics, and for each one of these tokens, a good way is to go to DeFi Llama, and then you get the revenue annualized. You get all of the different things. They take the metrics in a little bit different ways. But right now it's a very, very important time to go over these key metrics, see if the chain in general is dying or if things are moving to the downside, and kind of gut them. So I think that this data is going to help us out a lot as we do navigate this world. We know that we want to find that next big win, but we have to keep in mind capital prevention of loss, right? Where we want to make money slowly and protect it quickly. I really like doing things that way because it protects me from massive, massive downsides should the chaos continue. Again, if you are going to be trading or you want to learn how to trade, click the link in our Discord. You get in there for free, sign up with us on 2bit, and just use the user ID. You get access to an awesome community for literally no cost. Trade calls from the Quant, and currently just a honorary shout out. I think the Quant put out his weekly performance, And the weekly stats were total trades 19, wins 13, losses 6. So he has a win rate from last week of 68% win rate. Total profit, if you're following the trades exactly, came in at 550%. So very, very nice work. Well, make sure to stay subscribed, guys. This is not the right time to just check out of the world, right? And cold storage is your friend during this time.
We just wanted to take a quick second to shout out our sponsor, Arculus. They are a cold storage hardware wallet, helps you secure all of your digital assets for the future. Just tap this thing to the back of your phone and boom, you're in. We wouldn't be able to do this without them, but also wouldn't be able to do this without you guys, the Disco fam. You've supported us a lot over the years. If you want to support the channel now, just use the code DC20. It gets you 20% off this card. It's the #1 way you can support this channel going forward. Thank you for your support. We'll see you at the top.